Giving a crap about other people, like at a human level, to me is the first step in building trust. And you have to do that authentically.
And so Plaud, Plaud.ai. And a lot of people don't realize that it actually integrates directly on your computer as well. So you can actually record meetings. It'll just automatically sync and record. It's actually recording our podcast episode right now.
But when I was thinking about starting my own business and thinking about how I wanted to run, this book was recommended to me by another serial entrepreneur. I read it and I was like, I feel like I finally heard the message that I've been wanting, my whole life to hear in terms of how to start a company. This book reminded me that you only really have 4,000 weeks to live. If you live to 80 and you're lucky enough to do that. And it's really important to actually slow down and pause and think about what you're actually doing.
Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another high energy, high impact takeaway value episode of How Outsourcing and AI Works. And Brad Stevens, your host. And, as you've seen on the episodes that I have, a lot of times we're talking, even some clients that we've worked with, some clients in the past, or just fellow thought leaders that it's all about the world of, how outsourcing, AI, automation, delegation, right? We're all trying to be more efficient, more effective in how we're operating day to day in our lives, our families, and our businesses and careers. And excited to have Jessica Flugge, who she and I got a chance to meet recently at the International Franchise Conference, IFA Franchise Conference. And we were off to the races. And if there's anybody that talks maybe fast or faster than I do, I think I finally found her. She and I both go a mile a minute. So Jessica, thanks for being on the show. Got excited to share your background.
Thanks for having me, Brad. It's great to be here.
She's got a phenomenal background experience. And I'm telling you, all the way from kind of the large corporate world, right? From the halls of, the Ritz-Carlton type environment and global hospitality brands and portfolio companies for consulting firm Bain Capital, and working with the portfolio firms there, all the way down to getting your own consulting, and now actually launching a really exciting AI platform in the hospitality space, leveraging all her knowledge and background. So a really cool arc of her background and experience of where she is. So excited to have her. But as always, I'd like to kick off our episode giving you guys high takeaway value. If you don't listen to anything else that we talk about 100 miles an hour in the next few minutes, I want to start off with a quick tool, podcast, resource that maybe you haven't heard of before that my guest and I can share. So Jessica, I'll turn to you first. You're sharing a book before we kicked off here that I think everybody enjoy.
Yeah, Brad, fantastic. This is one of my favorite books. I recommend it to all my friends. If you can't see it, it's called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. It is fantastic. Here's why I love it. I'm a high energy, high throughput type person. I've always been. But this book reminded me that you only really have 4,000 weeks to live if you live to 80 and you're lucky enough to do that. And it's really important to actually slow down and pause and think about what you're actually doing. Again, I know you love hacks and shortcuts too. So it's a fantastic book. But if you're in the Barnes & Noble or you're just kind of cruising on a shelf, you can turn to the appendix on page 235 and get 10 tools for embracing your finitude. The reason I love this book is it just reminds you you're never going to get through it all. And someone like me thinks, oh no, I could, but you really can't. And it clicks you back to reality and really helps you focus on what matters most. So I love this book. It reminds you family's important too, like how to kind of have a whole life in addition to your business, in addition to your work. And so highly recommend for anyone. He's also got podcasts and things like that, but the book is fantastic.
Awesome. Well, that's a lot of takeaway value in a book, and that's awesome that they actually turned right to the page. She even gave you the page.
I always want to give the page. I will tell you, and I'm forgiving my cat for interrupting my podcast. The other book I do love, and Brad, you and I talked about this, is Traction.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will tell you about this book is turn to page 222. That's the other page I always turn to in this book, because it's also the quick start guide for when you want to run a business. And as I've been thinking about starting my own business, running my own business, this is my Bible. I've been part of big companies. I've always kind of slotted into those companies and just figured out my way around. But when I was thinking about starting my own business and thinking about how I wanted to run, this book was recommended to me by another serial entrepreneur. I read it and I was like, I feel like I finally heard the message that I've been wanting, my whole life to hear in terms of how to start a company, how to run it well, how to have accountability and traction as you grow. So those are my two recommendations, 4,000 Weeks and Traction.
Awesome. So I was going to share a book, but then I realized that would be a great additional one to share based on experience I just had yesterday with this one. But first, I'm going to share a quick tool. And look, some of you have heard of Plaud, right? The Plaud pen that does the AI recording. I'm telling you, I'm using this thing nonstop in all kinds of creative ways. And so Plaud, Plaud.ai. And a lot of people don't realize that it actually integrates directly on your computer as well. So you can actually record meetings. It'll just automatically sync and record. It's actually recording our podcast episode right now. So the Plaud pen, the little pen that we'll put the links in the show notes here. But you just turn it on and it automatically records, right? I mean, I take it everything from like church on Sunday to listen to the sermon to we've been doing a parent education series in my kids' school that my wife's been coordinating, done a phenomenal job of getting some speakers, and just put it in the room, records it. People that can't attend, it does this unbelievable summary of all the notes. And then it actually does a visual graphic as well. And there's different ways you can kind of see the summary content. And anytime you're on, other calls, Zoom calls, or what have you, you can turn it on your desktop as well. And it just auto records and then summarizes all the content in different formats.
Brad, I don't know if you remember this, but Plaud was what brought us together because I saw you using it and I went out and had to get my own. So I think it's fantastic. They're sponsor of this podcast, right?
Conference, right? You said everybody saw me with this little device sitting around. Which
I was like, I need to know what's happening here.
But we went to the conference and again, talk about, speakers and so forth. Everybody's sitting there trying to scramble notes down and
or take pictures with their phones. No.
And so it kind of ties it all in. And I love about it too, is it like it's the device is recording, but on your phone, right? It's in there. You can actually take pictures of slides and it'll insert it right in the notes as well. So it kind of has it all, blended. So Plaud, we'll put it in. Highly recommend. If you haven't checked it out, it's a great way you can use, and actually has one that attaches to your phone as well. You can do. And on the book side, I will share Influence by Robert Cialdini, that a lot of people have heard. Robert Cialdini, this was written back 30 years ago. But a good friend of mine actually is starting to work directly with Robert Cialdini and getting a chance. But it's Influence, the psychology of persuasion. And I love about his approach, similar to Jim Collins, is it's just tons and tons of deep research of why do people say yes, right? And in an ethical way, right? How do you kind of navigate that journey? So I'm actually going to be working potentially directly with my friend Samir, who's highly involved with him now. And he gave me a signed book by Robert himself, which is kind of cool.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
But in today's world, more than ever, as we're moving forward, whether you're trying to convince somebody to buy your product or service, or you get your child to get downstairs on time and dress for school, we're all influencing all day, every day.
Hashtag relatable. Yes,
exactly. So we're excited to turn now. Well, thanks here for that, Jessica, and for myself. So hopefully those are some helpful tactical tools for you to check out. So I'll turn to Jessica. She and I met because she's launched a consulting firm that she's working with some clients in the franchising space. And as you guys know, at Outsource Access here, we work 85 different industries supporting clients with our incredibly talented staff out of the Philippines. And we started working with a lot of franchise clients, franchisors, and multi-unit franchisees. And so Jessica was there, and so we got a chance to connect and learn about her background, both at a large corporate environment that she got a chance to work, but just, absolute best of breed in the hospitality space. And then was there working through her consulting operation that she's launched, and hear about some new things that are coming up on the startup side. But Jessica, fill in any other quick gaps a little bit on your background there. And I'd love, as I was talking to her, kind of share that arc, because I don't get a chance to have that many guests that have kind of gone in each of the different stages. But sort of some key takeaways, big observations you had, kind of working a global hospitality brand, and then, through the launch and transition to your consulting business, and then some insights on this AI startup.
Love it. Thanks, Brad. Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. And it is exciting. And you're absolutely right that a lot of people do stay at a company like Marriott for 25 years, because actually, PS, after 25 years, you get to stay for free. So leaving after 17, I know I was a little bit of an anomaly, but there were 3 things I really did learn coming up at Marriott that have served me well, like I would say in my consulting life and going forward. Those are, number 1, build trust, right? To me, relationships are everything. Build trust. Number 2, continuously learn. I love learning. I've changed jobs every 18 to 24 months, even within Marriott, which was kind of also unusual there. But I loved learning about brand. I love learning about strategy. I love learning about ops finance, valuation finance, and then even into quality, right? So I all sorts of different jumps because I love learning. And number 3, execute. If you actually get stuff done, people will keep coming back to you for work, for help, for advice, for strategy. There's plenty of people out there who talk a good game. They can sit on a call and talk. But if you actually put the slide together, put the model together, email the deck, give your thoughts on paper, and move the change down the field, you will be known as somebody who gets stuff done. So build trust, continuously learn, and execute. three life lessons for me that have just like held true as I've grown my career. So yeah, I left Marriott in 2017, went to a Bain-Cat Portco in healthcare. I knew nothing, learning continuously, remember? But building trust, I was able to kind of understand, okay, how does this PE world work? How do you execute in this really intense world when you've got someone like Bain breathing down your neck wanting you to create value every day? I got to learn about AI. We built an outsourcing business in India. You and I got to talk about that. It was a wonderful, wonderful jump, like career-wise. I loved it. But when I left there, I really felt like I was ready to start my own consulting business. So for about a year and a half now, I've been running Cherwell Consulting, focusing on essentially being a fractional COO, operating executive to small growing companies. So here's my website, cherwellconsultingservices.com. You can obviously contact me through this or through LinkedIn. But some of my clients come to me for, hey, we are in a moment of transition. We are in a moment where we've done an M&A deal. We've spun something off or bought something. We are trying to grow. We're trying to execute, and we just fired someone and we got to get some stuff done. Can you please come in and do it? And because my core values of building trust and then executing and then and just being willing to learn, I've been successful at coming into companies where I know no one, I maybe don't even know your space, but I can actually start to get stuff done pretty quickly on the ground. So that's been part of my brand as I've been building this consulting business, and I love doing that for lots of different clients. I've been in the pet care space, I've been in the software space, I've touched a lot of things that are sort of both healthcare space. I've been adjacent to things I've been in, but still new.
And maybe
And I guess,
you could share, Jessica, kind of
yeah,
what you learned, as you said, kind of initially and what was the role when you were in the corporate side on Ritz? What was your role specifically?
yeah. So at Marriott and Ritz-Carlton and Marriott, I mean, I started as an intern. I love that. Like, I really started as an intern out of business school. And there's a fun story about like when I wanted to be at Ritz-Carlton so badly. I had a finance background. I could do Excel spreadsheets and I'd been a banker. And I interviewed for this operations/finance internship.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who was interviewing me was a general manager. Like, he had run hotels, Ritz-Carlton hotels. And he goes, well, Jessica, are you able to do like spreadsheets for like labor and stuff like that? I was like, Len, I can do any spreadsheet you want. Trust me. He's like, I'm going to need spreadsheets for like F&B and all this stuff. And I go,
Back when humans made spreadsheets.
yeah, back when humans made spreadsheets, right? This is back in the days, how old I am. But I go, but I can do spreadsheets, but can you tell me what F&B means? And then he laughed because F&B means food and beverage. And if you're in hotels, you know that. So he hired me anyway. He taught me what F&B meant. He taught me everything about hotels. I had roles in valuation finance. I had roles in operational finance. I had roles in brand strategy. I eventually was a VP in corporate finance when we bought Starwood for $14 billion. And then I was a VP and running global operations, global quality, where we basically ingested all 10 million surveys and we did 8,000 brand standard audits across the world for all of Marriott's hotels. And that includes all the luxury portfolio, as well as all the way down to Fairfield and Courtyard and, all the sort of like mid-scale brands. So had a really varied career there against operations, finance, and brand strategy. Loved it. It was great.
And on the trust side, and I know kind of in that environment, right? And for those I know that have kind of navigated the large corporate environment and, a lot of my friends these days, as far as, talk about that trust element, right? And that's an element that you've got to establish because everybody's, there can be a bit of a political environment and what your agenda is and so forth. So what are some of the tactics that you kind of, put in place that you learned from there and have put forth to build that trust with people as kind of one of those core 3 takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, building trust has to be done authentically, right? You can't be doing it in a sort of transactional way. So genuine, the first starting point is a conversation. Hi, this is who I am. Who are you? And being curious about them, remembering things about them. If it helps you, take notes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I have notes files on people I've met over the years because I can't remember everyone's kids' names or dogs. But if you've write it down when you're chatting with them, that's a really helpful reentry point. Oh, you just went on vacation to Italy. You just gotten back. Like, giving a crap about other people, like at a human level, to me is the first step in building trust. And you have to do that authentically. So I would say that's number 1. And then number 2, being willing to, I talked about executing, but there's lots of like ways to execute. You can execute about like doing a giant M&A transaction, but you can also execute on a small scale. If you say, oh, there's a really cool article about that, I'll send it to you. Follow up, do what you say you're going to do. If you say, oh, I'll take notes during this meeting, take the notes, send them out. Small scale execution and iteration builds trust, alongside actually giving a crap about other people as people and building relationships. And then once you start to do that consistently, people will start to let you in and believe that you are fundamentally there to help. I also think the other piece of this, and this is sort of obvious, but always assume good intent. So I try to go in and, until proven otherwise, assume good intent. Assume everyone wants to do a good job, and I want to do a good job. And if we come from that point of believing that, then we can probably figure it out.
Well, I get my son and daughter to believe that as well.
Well,
These all apply across all of life.
children are a whole different podcast, Brad. We should have a whole different conversation about that. Yeah.
But those are challenging environments, right? I mean, not only is it the execution of your work, and sometimes it's, the execution of your work and what you're doing, is only part of the equation you have to navigate, right? When you're working through those kind of environments. So those are kind of a good foundation that sort of led. So now, so within Cherwell, what you've been kind of doing on the consulting side of things, the application of that, and then the types of clients, if there's any specific case studies that kind of stand out, some of the folks you've been navigating and applying that, large corporate kind of experience down to your individual clients, and any examples of how it's kind of translated for them.
Yeah, I think this is sort of an example that I think is really important. But one of the things I try to adhere to, and this is a lesson learned from Marriott, but sometimes small companies, it culturally hasn't kind of permeated. But if you're working on a project, working on a big project, let's say about labor or about technology, right? And you've got a thesis and you're working on things, you've got little different work streams. And me as a consultant, I'm kind of bringing these work streams together and like summarizing them, putting some slides together. I don't want to ever put slides in front of the CEO or someone, that like presenting to them without showing them to my peers first, right? The people who've been working on this project. Hey guys, this is what I think we've done. This is where I think we've been great. This is where I think we could do better. Here are some of the summary statistics. Does this all look good? Anything you change? Are we all on the same page?
Yeah.
That basic like respect and sort of treating other people like they have a voice, because they do and they should, I think is a really critical piece of building credibility in your consulting environment, because that way I'm going to go show this to the CEO, and then he goes and talks to his people, and they go, he goes, do you believe this is this right? And they go, yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's simple, says easy, does hard, because it takes more time. But I do think it's a really important step.
No, it's
obvious, but maybe, but I've seen that not everybody does it. So I offer it as a reminder.
Now, presentation and communication, I mean, more than ever, how you're going to get people to, transfer of knowledge and understand what you're trying to accomplish. And, slides, the slides and role that those play, a lot of people don't get that. I went to one the other day that had literally, every single micro inch of the entire thing completely full. And they just sat there and read it, which still modern day, right? It's amazing that people still communicate in that pattern, but it comes back to communication skills, right? And how people are trained. I work with kids at my kids' school here with their entrepreneurial program, and just teaching people more than ever, right? The gift of the pause, the gift of space, and the gift of just, use slides for visuals and large images, and let your words paint the pictures, and like literally visualize your words coming out of your mouth and literally landing on people and absorbing, right?
Oh, I love that. Yes. And I heard once that people have a story-shaped hole in their heads. So if you can tell a story, it'll land in their head and it'll stick there. I love that. That visual for me is like a story-shaped hole. So if you can make it a story and put it, then it's going to like land with your audience. So,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. I know we're coming up close to time, but if you need to go, we can go. Sorry.
I want to hear on the AI hospitality piece of it.
All right. So let me talk.
Yeah, we have another podcast episode coming up here, but I wanted to get into the AI hospitality kind of AI tool that you're doing there. So kind of the big picture experience, right? The consulting business, kind of what you're doing, operational scaling, kind of working with businesses, and then that translated into this AI venture. So I'd love to hear the detail on that. I'm sure there'll be another episode we can dive deep, because I know it's kind of in its beginning stages.
Oh yeah, it is. This is stage 0. So I want to be really clear, but this has been a passion of mine for a long time, which is really understanding the uniqueness of operating environments. So with Marriott, I was so lucky as a junior financial analyst. I was flown to South Korea. I was flown to Dubai. I was flown to the Grand Cayman. I was flown to, Manchester, all around the world to do these cost efficiency projects at hotels. One of the things I heard over and over and over again, because I was mostly in the room just listening, was we're special. We're unique. We have you name it, a historical building that you can't touch the facade of. We have a highway running past our hotel. We were just built yesterday, and not everything is up to code, or we're sorry. We not everything. Things are up to code. You can cut that out. But the point is, every property had unique characteristics, and they felt really special. So when it was my turn at Marriott in operations to build a tool that spoke to, hey, we want you to improve, I knew we had to speak to that uniqueness of the operator's experience.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 things that distinguish last mile. One is it decreases the time between knowing the problem and doing something about it, right? Mm-hmm. That's number 1. Number 2, it's going to use agentic AI to increase the effectiveness of your existing tools. Every hotel company or operating company in the world has SOPs and little Excel models to figure out margins and, optimize things. You can take those and move them from, that to chats and agents and things like that. Number 3 is top to bottom transparency. That was the other transformative piece of last mile, is that if property A or Tropical Smoothie Cafe B is doing something about improving their efficiency, improving their operations, improving their top line, and it's important for them, that you can track it all the way up to the CEO's level and all the way down to the property level. So that visibility and transparency. So decrease the time between knowing, increase your effectiveness, and improve your transparency are last mile's unique selling points, and why I think this is so needed in the hospitality world. So we're looking forward to launching. I would love to talk with you more as a founder about things we should be doing at stage 0, but those are the things that last mile is going to really start to stand for.
Well, I'm excited to follow the journey, and no, definitely would love to come back. And people love hearing people's journeys and their arc as they're kind of going through, and being able to take like your very specific domain knowledge in this space, and then being able to apply it, through the lens of AI, and seeing the unique problem that needs to be solved there, right? And that's ultimately we're always trying to find that niche that we can go deep in. That doesn't exist out there.
Exactly. And my co-founder is a sort of CFO. I'm sort of COO. And so between the finance and operations, you're going to make more money. That's the other bottom line, right? So I think everyone wants to know, like, as a business, you have to operate as a business, but that's an outcome. That's not the first goal. It's the outcome of doing things better. So
no, absolutely. And, and everybody, I always, anybody I mentor in business and entrepreneurship and so forth. And I was even sharing with someone, the other day that's, going to launch an idea and some friends of ours needs kind of launching an IT tech business. And I'm just like, you just got to do the numbers and you get that clear in the economic model first. Yes. Right. And I'm sure you being a spreadsheet commander kind of do that, but it's amazing how many entrepreneurs and business folks just don't, or they want to start something, but they just don't take time to like look at the economics to make sure it's viable. And you got to make decisions about what you're going to invest in and how you're going to grow and what my customer acquisition cost is. And, build out a simple model. And now, Claude and GPT can do it for you. You just have some basic variables you can play around with, right? And then have that accumulated cash flow item at the bottom, which is more important than anything as you're growing and seeing what is the cash line up to. So where can I start making investments if we want to add another person, right? Or, for someone that's leaving a corporate job and starting something, like what does that number need to get to for me to transition? How many clients do I need to make happen?
Yes.
And truly separate out fixed versus variable costs, right? And so many people don't do that in that process. So, but no doubt I'm sure the foundation from you guys be kind of having a financial, analytic mind, but happy to
trying to, but you gotta have passion for the work too, and figure out how you're going to get your first clients across the gate, right? So that's the other.
Oh yeah, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be willing to put in what it takes to actually make it survive in the process. So that is definitely the starting point, where it begins. But I'm excited to hear about that journey as it goes ahead. I know a lot of people in that hospitality space. I know they're happy to share as well to move forward. So,
oh my gosh, love to talk more about this. I know you've got a lot of stuff on your plate, so I want to let you go.
Yeah, so everybody kind of follow up with Jessica if you want to kind of learn more about what she's doing and looking for specific help there and support. As we shared earlier, we've got her website, which we'll put in the show notes on Cherwell Consulting, has information, kind of background on her end there. You can check her out on LinkedIn also. And everybody knows us, to outsourceaccess.com and learn all about our world. And you can send an email to tools@outsourceaccess.com, and we'll send you a link to our 2-question exercise to help you figure out all your constraints to begin the journey. Includes over 700 tasks we've done over the last 6 years, 5 million hours worth of work. And excited to share. I was telling Jessica, I actually got a book finally. Everybody's been asking me about, when am I going to do a book potentially? And so going to get this thing launched hopefully end of May, June, automate and delegate. So more to come about that. We'll put in the show notes, kind of all in line with the topics we're talking about today. So Jessica, thanks for being with me, and excited. Got a lot of things transitioning in your world and continue to look forward to following your journey. And we'll have another round and we'll talk about this. And sneak peek into talking about how does the world of choosing an au pair, which she knows very well, ties to the world of automate and delegate that we kind of navigate on our end. So we'll have to make that a dedicated episode. I know it could be helpful for some people as well.
Can't wait. So much fun. All right. Nice to talk
All
to you,
right.
Brad. Take care. All
Bye.
right. Thanks. Bye.